I want to talk to you today about a brilliant way of feeding and fishing with Fuka bait in winter, and that's to feed it with micro pellets. Now, I'm sure you sat there thinking, when Fuka bait do their own lovely bright coloured micro pellets that stand out and obviously work well on their own as a bait, why would you want to feed it with standard fishery micros? Well, I'll tell you why. The reason is it's a mixture of the familiar and the not so familiar for the fish. Now, these micro pellets probably have been the staple fish feed on most commercial fisheries for the last 10 years or more. They're a mega successful winter feed bait that we all know works well, and fishing maggots over micros or soft expanders over micros has been one of the most popular and successful commercial fishing winter methods of all time. So what we're doing here is harnessing that tried and tested power of micro pellets and mixing it with the standout pulling performance of Fuka bait and Sensate attractant. So how do we go about doing it? Well, first and foremost, obviously most commercial fisheries have their own micro pellets, and it's important to obviously use them where specified so you don't get in trouble. Preparation wise, again, there's lots of videos about how to prepare micros. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Suffice to say, obviously take your time. When you see the micros starting to discolour in the water, when you see them starting to cloud, that often means they've been in the water long enough, and that's the time to drain them off so that the micros remain intact without going mushy. That's what you want. You want your pellets to be intact like this, so that they're soft, you can squeeze them together, they're going to form together in a little ball, but also they still hard in the middle and they haven't broken down totally and gone all mushy. That's what you're looking for, really. So what I've done today, I've prepared about half a bag of the Western Pools micro pellets, and there's two ways I like to feed them, just to give you two different options. Again, it's well worth experimenting with both these ways of feeding on your local commercial, because you might find that one's better than the other, and it's not until you do that and find out what's best for you that you'll be able to put a proper plan together to suit the venue that you're attacking. So first and foremost, just micros straight as they come out the bag. Now, as you can see, these are fairly dull. They've got the black tracer pellets in, but other than that, they're a fairly dull brown colour. So imagine how well a bright piece of Fuka bait is going to stand out over the top of these. Whether it be a Fuka Neon, big bright fluorescent bait on a day when you're trying to pick out a bonus fish, or if you're trying to catch a bit of everything, look at the Fuka micros themselves. You can put those on the hook. They're a little bit larger than a standard fishery micro, and again, they stand out absolutely beautifully. So that gives you maximum impact in terms of creating a standout hook bait over a tried and tested feed bait in the micro pellets. But another really good tactic, and something I've had a lot of success doing, has been mixing the Fuka micros with the standard fishery feed micros to create this sort of thing, a really bright, vibrant jamboree of micros mixed in with the fishery feed pellets. And the added advantage of doing this is you flavour your fishery micros with the Sensate attractant that's impregnated into the Fuka bait. So all I've done here is prepared the micros as usual. When I've drained off the water, so they're still a little bit damp and a little bit sticky, I've added in the Fuka micros and mixed them round, and that's just caused the Fuka micros to go slightly sticky, to leak a little bit of Sensate attractant out. And again, if I squeeze that, just one-handed nip, you can see we could feed that in deeper water if we wanted to, and it'd go to the bottom and break down there. So it gives you the option of feeding either loose in shallowish water out of a kinder pot, or squeeze it into a ball and feeding in slightly deeper water. And again, over the top of that, we can fish one of these micros on the hook, one of the brighter neons, or a piece of 2-in-1. It's just about playing about with those two different modes of feeding and finding out what's best on a given day. So, how do we feed micros? Well, I've got to urge caution here, guys, because micros, as I've said, are a particularly potent feed bait, but they're also a great way of spoiling your peg if you're not careful, because they can bring an awful lot of fish into your peg, and the fish can then get preoccupied with the micros. So always err on the side of caution. I use a pole mounted sprinkle pot to feed these generally. So on a typical session, I probably feed, I don't know, 20 or so micros with a few of the Fuka micros mixed in with them, about that sort of quantity. I drip feed that into the peg to start with, fish a piece of Fuka on the hook, and just see what we caught doing that. Obviously, times when I might feed more would be if the fishing was good, or if I found that feeding a quantity of bait and then resting it was best on a given day, which sometimes it is. So you've got two options there. Always start on the side of caution if you're not sure. Don't feed too many of these. A little bit of bait goes a long way. But if you find out your venue responds well to them and you want to feed multiple lines, as I've said, that's a great way of maximising what you catch from your peg in the winter. And you can obviously feed a little bit more heavily. But as a start off of 10, always urge on the side of caution. Micros are a proven fish attractor, proven fish catcher, and by merging them with the power of Fuka, you can have some great winter catches.